Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Ian and today I'm working on a boot cowl for a Fleet 80 Canuck. Registration Charlie Foxtrot Delta Zulu Bravo. This goes just ahead of the pilot's door and this thing looks about 70 years old. There's patches. The holes are all oversized and huge. This Venturi we're removing because we don't have any vacuum-driven gyros anymore. This patch, which covered over, holds for another Venturi. And this, I'm pretty sure, unapproved outside air vent door. So instead of patching all of this, or making it weigh a whole ton, we have some fresh aluminum stock and some patience. We're making a new one. So, first order of business is to remove all the junk on this thing that's going to get in our way while we're tracing it out. So, grab us some tools here and rip everything off. This patch doesn't need to be here, and all that hardware is going to get in the way. Recycle. Now this Venturi is designed to pull air. You have ram air coming through here just from the aircraft traveling, and this design here creates a low pressure right back here. So there's this pipe that comes up through here. This actually is a pipe that leads all the way to your gyro instrument. So what happens is the low pressure pulls air through that pipe, through the gyros, and that gives you a clean, reliable, and constant source of air. However, it only starts to work when you start moving through the air. So you don't get your instruments until you're in the air already. Now this is, no, there you go. That's why those guys don't want to move. They're just all sorts of fuzz. Maybe I can get in here and break some of these free. Otherwise, it's going to be a matter of cutting this thing off of here. Alright, want to do this the hard way? Let's do this the hard way. I'm not saving you anyways. Rule number 1, eye protection. Rule number 2, maintain your tools. This is the actual fitting that air would pass through. You'd have just a low pressure hose typically just clamped onto the end of there. Those fittings are actually worth a fair bit still, so hang on to that guy. Use that for a later project. There we go. Recycle. Because I clean up, so I miss. Okay, so here we have our piece. So here we are. We have our fresh piece of metal here. Grain goes this way, indicated by these markings here. Only critical part on that is this fold. You always make sure the grain is perpendicular to the direction of the fold. That gives it the most strength. So, what tall is this guy? About a ½ inch. Yeah, a little more than a ½ inch. We'll go 5/8. That's for good measure. You can always take more off. So, let's go in here, get our square, set them for 5/8, lay out 5/8 inch setback. Come on. That's the excess material, protectant. This aluminum is covered with a vinyl protecting layer because this alloy, there it is, 2024 T3 is highly susceptible to corrosion on the outer layer. So it is cladded with a layer of pure aluminum, which does not corrode as easily. However, that pure aluminum is quite soft, and even a scratch will go through it, causing the alloyed material underneath to corrode. So you got to be careful. All right. So we lay up our cutaway sections with our setback. That's right. There's this little guy, which has a couple wires poking out the back side, which I can only imagine is an old outside air temp probe. Don't need that no more. Looks like it's just glued in. So we have to be a bit of a brute to get it out. Great. Okay, so we line up our cutaway sections here with our measured setback. Layer down flat. And trace it out. Not much more to it. Door hinge cut out here. Oh, there's a notch taken out of the side. I'll have to see if that is a required notch. I'm not going to bother marking any of these holes until I get this piece cut out and roughly sized. Leave a little bit of excess on the edges. We have wiggle room. Okay, now let's take this guy over the metal shear. Get it all cut out. Okay, so here is the metal shear. Fairly straightforward work here. Line up your line. Got our piece cut out, we've got our old piece overlaid on top of it. I'm now seeing that I need to de-rivet all these little tabs. That holds a skin on top of it. And drill all these holes. Thankfully, these holes aren't critical because the tab that they mount to is free floating. So it just has to go wherever it ends up. Okay, there we have it. All of those Tinnerman nuts, they're called, are removed. If they're all in decent shape, I'll reuse them. That one looks a bit scratched. Yeah, those look fine. they did break. They're not a big deal to change. So there is our naked skin. Okay, so we have all our tin rim clips de-riveted here. Next thing to do is take to the bender and make this flange in our good skin. Because if you're going to screw up anything, it's when you bend it. Let's go. Okay, so here we have a pretty standard box and pan brake. Your piece goes in like this. You clear up the stuff back, but that's okay, this stuff's fairly flexible. Now we don't quite want the super sharp bend radius that these nose bars give you, so I'm going to put a shim in. Now this is the single easiest part to mess up whenever you're doing sheet metal, is getting your bends in the correct location. There's a saying, it's not sheet metal if you don't do it twice. I'm hoping to avoid doing that. Okay, clamp that guy down just like that. Compare it to your factory piece. Make sure your bend is going in the right direction. And it is. So, we make a 90-degree bend. Just like that. Okay, so we've got our bent piece of metal. We overlay it on the original. Oh, look at that. We've got a ton of excess, but that's what I was expecting. Harder to put it back on than it is to remove it. So, we take some finger clamps here, line up our edges, squeeze these guys together, and mark out where this flange ends. And there we have it. Minutes with the hand shears, and that should just come right off. I think that's as close as we're going to get. Looks like a beaver did it, but you know what? We can tidy that up. The nice thing about working with aluminum is that it's soft enough that you can just draw file it. You literally just draw the file across the surface like this. Gives you a nice, even edge. Okay, so that's all taken care of. The other tool that is incredibly handy for getting into areas like this is a nibbler. Okay, where were we? Right, more filing. Alright, so I think that about covers it. We've got our cutouts to accommodate our structure. Let's see how we line up to the template. I would say pretty darn good. Alright, so now we've got that all shorted. Let's make our accommodation for our door hinge. Okay, so that is all the filing done on this guy. Next, drill these guys. So, I laid them out. Now I just put a bullseye on each one of them. These all need to get drilled smaller size, the two ones surrounding the central hole, for the rivets. Okay, so I've drilled out the rivet tails from all the tenon clips here. And at this point, the easiest way to lay out exactly where they get riveted on is to just put it in and use the tenon clip itself as a guide. So you just take a screw, thread it through, snug it down. This one appears to be a bit bent. And there you go, drill your holes. Drill. Okay, so that's all the rivet holes drilled. The next step is to countersink. Now this guy, a very handy little tool. This is a micro stop or a micro dial countersinking tool. So you thread a countersink into the end there, and this is serrated. You can rotate the body and the stop independent of one another if you unlock it, and that sets the depth. So right now it is set up for number 3, and that's what we need. So let's countersink all of these and then we can start riveting. And there we go. Bueno. Okay, so next we rivet on our clips. So we have a rivet gun, we have a bucking book, we have all our countersunk rivets. You just make them all meet. Eye protection, ear protection. The next thing you do is you peel back that protective layer so that you don't trap any of it under your rivets, or your clips for that matter. Okay, so next we just rivet the tabs on. The holes in these are a little bit oversized, so these clamps are probably not going to hold them very well. If I can hang on to them to begin with. So, the trick here is just like we did the first time, just put them in with a screw. That's all she takes. And there we have it. One on. Now do it 6 more times. And there we have it. One boot cowl. Rough made. I'll do the final fit and finish when I finally fit and finish it. There we go. That's ready to go on the pile of done things. Getting bigger. The pile of things that needs to get done doesn't seem to be getting smaller. So there you go. From a blank piece of aluminum to almost ready to go on an airplane. I have a few more things to do on the pilot's door. I have the co-pilot's door to do a couple of repairs. So those are the videos that you'll be seeing next. Until then, thanks for watching. See you around.